All right, let's go ahead and get started. So welcome to a special Saturday edition of the workshop. Appreciate you all moving your schedules around and attending tonight. We'll make it worth your while. I am Erik Gross, your instructor for tonight, and I am a nerd of long duration. That's not, okay. I've been a software engineer for a long time, but also a nerd. I'm a military vet. I was in the Navy for 6 years, operated nuclear reactors, and maintained and repaired electronic equipment and taught a bunch of different classes in a bunch of different technology subjects. I'm also the co-founder of the Tech Academy, the school that is putting on these free classes. So that's me with a little less gray hair. We have actually a couple of assistants in the class right now because we're doing a bit of internal training. So we have Regina here, and we also have Christine, and they will watch the chat and help with some, admin stuff in the background. And if anybody isn't very nice, they'll boot you, although that really doesn't happen. Obviously, most everybody here knows how to use chat. That probably shouldn't be an issue. Real quick invitation as well. Hi, John. If you have never attended one of our classes, do me a favor and drop into chat and let me know where you're joining us from. As I was saying earlier, I am in Louisiana. Specifically, I'm in Slidell. It's about 30 minutes east of New Orleans. And we watch the chat all the way through. So definitely use it. All right, so basic agenda. We'll have a short explanation of the Tech Academy. Again, the school is putting on these free classes. And then we'll do our workshop, which is all about learning how to code and with AI, like utilizing AI as an assistant or an aid to help you learn to code. And a lot of that's going to be demonstration and hands-on, not just me talking about it. I'll be showing you a lot of how you can go about doing that. Hi, Deb. Welcome. Deb's joining us from New Hampshire. That's awesome. After we've done the workshop, we'll have a brief Q&A session, but especially on this one, I want to stress, I'll be doing as best a job as I can to watch the chat throughout my presentation. And so if you have questions on the fly while I'm showing you some of this stuff about how to best leverage AI, please put them into chat. And I'll do my best to grab those questions as they come. But if we have any outstanding questions, once I'm done with the workshop, then I'll take those questions up then. And then we'll go over some information about our boot camps. And then we'll have a free gift for you at the end. So please do stick around. The whole class should take about an hour, hour and a half. And I don't mind it, stretching a little bit if you guys have questions. We try to get done in an hour, but if there's lots of questions, we'll stretch it to an hour and a half. All right, so who is the Tech Academy? What are we all about? Well, we do technology training, and the primary thing we deliver are what are called coding boot camps. If you're not yet familiar with coding boot camps, they've been around for about a decade, and they are intensive certification programs that are designed to get you into the tech industry as fast as possible. So they're preparing you for entry-level positions, typically the last, depending upon the school, maybe 3 to 6 months, some shorter, some longer, and they focus on practical modern skills that are in demand in the workplace. We've been offering thorough, budget-friendly, flexible, trusted coding boot camps for over a decade. And our certification programs are cost-effective, they're self-paced, they're fully online, and they're tailored for beginners, people with no prior technical or coding knowledge. We cover in-demand skills for the tech industry. Our programs are endorsed by stellar online reviews, and they're designed to fit around your personal schedule. And we try to prepare you for your technology career with a really well-rounded toolkit. The average cost of boot camps in America is about $13,000 or $14,000. Ours are under the national average, and we even have boot camps that start as low as $5,300. I want to read our mission statement. This is what we're all about, and it's part of why we even do these free classes. The mission statement of the Tech Academy is to graduate entry-level technology professionals that excel in the basics of their field and thereafter have successful careers in the tech industry and whose actions raise industry standards and surpass client expectations. That's why we're here. Our product is you working in tech. We have a relatively new service I want to tell you about if you haven't heard about it. It's called the Tech Academy Accelerator. Now, this is different from everything else we do. It's different from our free classes. It's different from our boot camps. This is designed for people who are breaking into technology or already in tech to accelerate their careers. And this is the most personal service that I deliver for the school. What it is a subscription service that gets you live weekly workshops with me. It gets you access to over 100 educational videos and over 100 self-paced online mini classes. What's cool about these workshops is we have a chance to dive deep into complex technical subjects. That's why we call it the accelerator. And again, it helps people move much faster in their career because I get you just to download everything I've managed to learn over the years. There's a lot of Q&A. It's open voice and chat, so we can converse back and forth. And I teach topics that are suggested by the community. The members of the accelerator community ask me like, hey, can we talk about this or that or whatever, right? It's also really inexpensive. It's $9.99 a month, and you can check it out for free for 7 days just to see if it's, up your alley and helpful. So if one of the assistants could post in chat a link to join the accelerator, that'd be awesome. So if you grab that link and fill out the form to join, it's a pretty simple form, and it will ask you for, debit card information, but it doesn't charge you right away. It waits a week, and you have plenty of opportunity to cancel in that week if you want to, right? In fact, you can cancel anytime. What I recommend is sign up now, attend that first workshop next Tuesday, and you're not going to get charged, and you can see whether it's up your alley. We do really cool stuff like one of the more recent workshops we did was all about how to succeed at freelancing. Like once you're technically trained, how can you successfully have side gigs, side development contracts, or other technology work as an adjunct to your regular income? Because I've done a lot of that over the years and learned painfully what to do and what not to do. And we went over all of that, which is pretty helpful. All right, so I'm gonna take a sip of water, give people a moment if they want to click on that link. All right, now we do a couple of different types of free classes. I want to talk about what this class is and isn't. Now in this class, we will give you simple definitions for technical terms. We'll explain technology-related concepts in plain English, so hopefully you can understand them well. This class does not have any coding. We do, in fact, have free coding classes. And in fact, if you go to our next, to Meetup, and I'll give you links later on, you can register for our next free coding class, and they're pretty awesome. In fact, if I could have one of the assistants post a link to our next free class in the chat, that way people who want to attend one where there's actually coding can grab that link. There we go. Now that said, for those of you who have Chat GPT, I recommend you follow along with what I do today as best as possible. And then remember, these videos get uploaded to YouTube, so you'll be able to watch this again and follow along even more closely if you want to. All right, so let's switch up a little bit. This is all about, I'm going to stop sharing for a second and just talk to you. So when we're looking at the concept of using AI to learn to code, it's helpful to start with just like a basic a baseline understanding of what AI is right now. AI encompasses a lot of different things. And so let's narrow it down a little bit. The specific aspect of AI that we're talking about are what are called chatbots, like Chat GPT. And there's several others, like, one of the bigger competitors is Claude, C-L-A-U-D-E, right? And this is a whole category of AI that's under the heading of what's called generative artificial intelligence. Here's what that means in simple terms. You take a tool, a special artificial intelligence tool that's meant to emulate how the human mind works, and you train it on a tremendous amount of human written communication. In other words, tons and tons and tons of the internet is really what they get trained on. But they're trained on a specific aspect of human language. It's called natural language processing. And what these tools like Chat GPT, what they're designed to do is just predict the next most logical word. At their core, I know that sounds really simple, but that's all a tool like Chat GPT does, is it is trying to figure out what is the next most probable or likely word that it should produce to give to you as a response. Now, when you use one of these Chat GPT things, it can seem like it's actually having a conversation with you. And I'm curious, in chat, if you do me a favor, I'd like you to raise your hand in chat if you have used Chat GPT or a similar tool. Let me grab the chat again. I'm looking. All right, good. 6, 7, 8. A bunch of raised hands. you're not familiar, there should be in the Zoom dialogue, in the Zoom bar, a raised hand symbol. All right, so at least, about half of you have used something like Chat GPT. I've got some yeses in the comments. Okay, good. So we're going to go to Chat GPT a lot, and I'll show you some examples. But that's all they're doing is you give them some text. And when you give it the text, the prompt, Chat GPT, I'm going to use Chat GPT as an example for one of these, generative artificial intelligence tools, because it's the most popular one. When Chat GPT receives your prompt, it analyzes it and then goes to some or all of the data it was trained on and says, okay, given what Erik just gave to me as text, what is the text that's the most likely thing that I should give back? That's really what it's doing, right? So I'm going to show you how to use one of these tools as an assistant, starting with a couple of the fundamentals. So let me go ahead and share my screen, and I'm actually going to move some things around on my screen so you can see exactly what we're talking about. All right. So first of all, here's ChatGPT. Let me get some Zoom controls out of the way. And again, most of you said yes, but the simplicity is that down here at the bottom is where you give it some input, and then it'll print the output below that. So it's to show you that it really is just what is the most logical text to give back. I'm going to say, what follows Mary had a little lamb. There we go. Okay, good. So again, that's logical. Now, when you're trying to use a tool like this to help you learn to code, there's two things you're going to need to think with. And the first one is just, how do I make the best use of this tool? Just in general, never mind what the purpose is. Here the purpose is trying to learn how to code, right? But regardless of that, how do I make use of this tool really effectively? And the second thing is, what's the basic sequence I should take when I'm trying to learn to code? Those are two separate pieces of data, and so we'll cover them separately. The first one is just, how do I best make use of this tool? Now, I'm going to give you a shortened version of a workshop I did about 2 or 3 months ago, all about how to write really good prompts for ChatGPT. And if towards the end of the class, we'll give you a link that shows you our free YouTube videos, right? And you'll find it in there about 3 months ago. Highly recommend you watch that video in full to get a real expansive explanation of what goes into making a really good prompt. But here's one of the most fundamental things. You want to try to direct the attention of the AI to a specific area of human knowledge. And what I mean by that is the AI was trained, ChatGPT was trained on a huge, giant body of knowledge encompassing many, many, many aspects of human communication and society in general. But you don't want to operate usually with every single aspect of human communication and every aspect of society in mind. You're asking or wanting to work with ChatGPT in a specific area or domain. And one of the primary ways you can make ChatGPT give you better responses is by giving it a specific thing that will narrow its focus in terms of the data it has access, or the data it works with when responding to you. And the best way to do that is through giving it what's called a role, telling it what kind of persona or personality or job it is supposed to take on. Examples might be, you are a master chef, or you are an experienced auto mechanic, or you are an expert computer programmer. Any of these are roles. And what'll happen is when you tell that to ChatGPT or any of these, AIs, it'll immediately start to focus on a specific subset of the data that it has access to in figuring out the responses it's going to give you. So that's pretty important. So The next thing you're going to want to do is tell it why. Like, what's the purpose? What do you want it to give you? Do you want it to give you a lesson plan? Do you want it to give you some code samples? Do you want it to give you a simplified explanation of a technology concept? You got to tell it, what am I asking Chat GPT for? And finally, I want to give it some context. You might say, I'm at the beginning of my learning journey with Python, or I am relatively knowledgeable about databases, but I'm trying to advance my knowledge and learn some more advanced techniques. You're giving it this context. So there are more, but those three things: a role, the desired type of output you want, or the response, and some context into what's the human reality of your life or the work you're doing that has even brought you to the point where you want to work with one of these tools. And if you can give it those three things, you're going to get much better information out of it. Now, let's give it some examples here. I want to make sure I have my chat up. Don't want to lose sight of what's going on. Give me a second. All right. Now it's on the other screen, so I'll try to watch it really diligently. Okay. So I said the first thing might be a role. Now, if I were trying to learn to code, the role that I want it to take in general is that of an expert in instructing people new to technology. So you might describe that as, you are an expert technology trainer and an experienced software developer. I'm not done yet. But you've now, and by the way, if you can't see what I'm typing because your Zoom menu is at the bottom of your screen, go and move it out of the way, because I really want you to be able to see exactly what I type. Now, with just this one sentence, you have told ChatGPT to really refine or narrow down, like I said, the type of information it's going to look through and use in generating responses. And it's also capable of analyzing some of the intent behind this, so that it knows that it needs to start to it needs to access and provide answers related to someone who actually has a lot of experience in the industry. You could tell it you are a novice software developer, and that would greatly affect the quality and the breadth of the responses it would give you. So tell it what you want. Like, who is your ideal instructor or partner to work with in learning how to code? So this would be an example, right? You could refine this, and if you're trying to learn a specific technology or a specific language, add that in. You could say, I'm an experienced software developer with Python. You can put that in there, and now it's going to further narrow down the area it's going to help you in. But let's just keep that open. So there's a role, right? Now, I mentioned earlier that there are two kind of things that you're going to want to have in mind as you use AI to help you in your learning journey. The first one was, again, a knowledge of how to use the tool. Any of these AIs, these chatbots, right? You want to learn how to best use the tool. We went over three high-level things there in terms of the role and the result and the context that can go into giving it really good prompts. But the other thing that I mentioned was you're going to want to have a basic understanding of, how do I approach learning how to code? Now, you can get a lot of conflicting information out there. Some of the help that you can get can come straight from the AI. So let's see what it says would be a logical sequence for learning how to code and getting to the point where you are actually, like, viably going to be able to go out and interview and get a job. So we'll put that in there. Remember, I said you want a role and you want a result. I need a write-up of how a novice might go about learning to code and getting their first job in technology. And I also said you might want to give it some context. The learner has little or no coding experience, but enjoys math and logic problems. They have tried some YouTube tutorials and see if I can learn how to spell tutorials, are frustrated with the complexity of the material. Just an example of where someone might be. What you put down for context will relate to you, right? So you have told it what role, you've told it what sort of result you need, a write-up of how you can go about learning to code and breaking into tech, and some context. And let's just see what it says. And then I'm going to add some nuance based on our, years and years of helping people break into tech. So let's look at what Chat GPT says. Nice little sort of intro there. Okay, great. But let's look at the overall goal, the overall steps. Set clear goals. This is some mind work. That kind of makes sense, right? What do you want to achieve? Pick a language. Okay. Find some structured learning resources. Says, okay, instead of diving into complex YouTube tutorials, there might be some interactive coding platforms, might be some books, some online courses. Okay. Practice regularly, join a community. All right, that's fine. Now, this is still general, right? And if you don't have the information I'm about to give you, you might start trying to do some of these things or looking for online resources and miss out on one of the most effective ways to learn how to program. So I'm going to show you a key aspect of how to learn any programming language and how to use AI to help you implement it. What I'm showing you right here is one slide from a presentation I've given many, many times. It's one of the key aspects that we've found in how to teach someone how to program, period, and how to teach someone a specific programming language. And here's what it relates to is what are the 5 elements that make up any computer program? Now, I'm not going to give a long rundown on each of these. I'm going to show you if you had this data, how could you use it and AI to help learn a specific language? And here's the brief overview. Any computer program needs an entrance point. It needs a first instruction. It needs a way for the underlying computer's operating system, whether that operating system is Windows or Mac OS or Linux. Your program needs a way to tell the operating system, hey, I'm running now, and I'm going to need your help in managing some things, especially related to where you're going to store the data that I need as a computer program. So it needs an entrance point. One of the other things it really needs is variables. Variables are pieces of data that a computer program takes care of or keeps track of that can change. It also needs control and branching, instructions or systems. These are how to implement decision points within a program. It also needs things called subprograms, which is essentially a program within your program. It's a set of program instructions that can be called upon and repeated over and over and over again. And finally, your program needs an exit point. It needs a way of saying to the operating system, hey, I'm done now. I'm no longer running. And I no longer need you to help me manage some things. I'm done. I'm fini, over. So these are the 5 things that any computer program needs. Now, They're not in this order, but these are the things it needs. So let's say you had this information, and you can get this, from any of our books that I'm going to show you later on. And obviously you've got it right now, and you can watch the video on this. And this is seriously, it's super valuable data, even though it seems very simple. If you got these things, this is how you could use AI to start figuring out, how does it work? What do I do? Let's go back to AI and let's just look at that first thing of variables. Let's say you picked a language. You could even use AI to help pick the language. You say, all right, it says choose the right programming language. Start with the beginner-friendly programming language. You say, what is a beginner-friendly programming language I might use? Just ask it. I'm not shocked it said Python. John, someone just put in chat C++, which is one of the most notoriously hard languages to learn, and has at various points in my life made me want to bang my head against the wall until I couldn't see anymore. No, not C++, John. All right, good. So the Chat GPT is saying, hey, why not start with Python? Good, that's fine. Now, here's a point I want to make, is it really doesn't matter very much what language you choose. I've seen a lot of people get hung up on this for months or longer, thinking that the choice of language is super important, and it isn't. The fact is that if you choose any reasonably popular language and you learn the fundamentals of programming with that language, you can break into tech and you'll be fine. There's jobs available in every language. What's more important is just learning one of them and learning it well, and learning the fundamentals behind it. When I talk about fundamentals, I'm really talking about like these 5 things. How do you do these things in any given language? So let's just talk about Python. Well, I would want to know, okay, all right, how do I get started? So, okay, I am going to use Python. And notice it can be very conversational. How do I get started? So just talk to it. Remember, you gave it a role. You give it the role of someone who's experienced both as a technical trainer and experienced as a software developer. And so its answers will be given from that point of view. All right, so let's see what it says here. There's a lot of material, right? And by the way, when we're done with this whole thing, I'm going to share the link to this whole conversation with Chat GPT. So those of you who do have Chat GPT can actually go through and review all of this entire conversation after the fact, by the way. I don't know if you know you can do that, but this little share chat thing right over here pops up a link, and I can share that link, and anybody who's got Chat GPT can look at the whole conversation, which is great. So let's see what it says. And I'm not even going to say that one out loud, Dev. There are plenty of obscure, horrifically hard languages to learn that I could throw out there. All right, so it says the first thing, I want to install Python. Okay, all right. It even gives me a website, install the latest version, and it even tells me to install the version. So it's telling me what to do. Now, I've done this numerous times on many different machines. Frankly, anybody who's reasonably comfortable with the computer could actually do these things, or if they had any kind of issue with like, I'm not sure 100% what that means, just use Python or just use ChatGPT to say, what does that mean? Like, for example, what does add Python to path mean? Let's just say that hung you up. You're like, what is that all about? Ask it, what does add Python to path? And notice how I typed it exactly the way it did, right? What does that mean? Now, I'm about to show you a philosophy on how to best use AI to learn to code. Now, This is pretty simple. Adding Python to paths is an important step during the installation process. Here's what it means and why it's important. That's easy to understand. That's a pretty simple couple of sentences. But this next point is critical. In the following paragraph, under what is path, I can almost guarantee that for some or even all of you, there are some words in that paragraph that you don't fully understand. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no shame in that. But I can guarantee that some or all of you have found some words in this program that you're not sure what they are. Starting with environment variable. And so you basically have the opportunity right now with this Chat GPT tool to interview an expert technology trainer and software developer who is not distracted, who is not busy working on other tasks, who isn't going to resent you, and will do the best job it can to get the information across to you. Now, it's not really intelligent. It's not really alive. But if you use it the right way, it's very much like having a real conversation. You know how when you go through school, for most of the time, with very few exceptions, it's not a very friendly environment to, one, display the fact that you're something and need more information or some clarity, and two, to ask questions. In most training environments we all went through as young adults and even college age, adults, it wasn't a very welcome place. Part of what makes using AI so valuable is that you are not restricted by that. So I know it sounds weird because we're talking about a computer, but don't be afraid to ask questions. And especially if it uses a term you're not sure of, clarify what the term is. In other words, I wouldn't try to read this whole little article that ChatGPT produced. I would stop right on that thing that I have highlighted and go, I don't know what that means. Well, find out immediately before you continue. Because if you don't, everything you're reading past that point, past that, totally either misunderstood or no understanding at all, or partly understood that those terms, everything past that will not stick. It won't make full sense to you. So here's where you can start to think precisely about using AI. If I'm trying to clarify what a term or a symbol or a phrase means, I want to avoid the possibility that in explaining it to me, ChatGPT will give me further things that are relatively complex or have a good chance of being over my head. I don't want to continue to stack up words and symbols that I'm confused about. So I would use ChatGPT like this. I'd say, please explain, or I'd probably spell it right, what environment variable means in simple terms. Just add that at the bottom, right at the end. By the way, that's what's called a constraint. When you're looking at creating really good prompts for using one of these AI tools, I said there's actually 6 factors. I don't know if I said that. There's 6 factors in making a good prompt. I told you 3 of them: role, result, and context. A 4th one is constraint. Control or limit or guide or direct the operation of the AI in some way. This could be telling it what sort of style to produce this response in, bubbly and friendly, stern and professional, but it can also be what sort of like education level or, balance of simple to complex do you want? Use that as a tool when you're trying to learn, because if you don't, as you can see, ChatGPT will sometimes just dump out a tremendous amount of words. They're like, I don't know what that means. So let's see what it says. Please explain what environment variable means in simple terms. Beautiful. So we're actually going to read this just because we want to see the value of being able to interact and basically tell the AI, listen, that was a bit over my head. Can you simplify that for me? So Chat GPT has said an environment variable is like a special setting on your computer that programs use to know where to find things or how to behave. It's a bit like a note you leave on your desk to remind yourself where you put important files or what your passwords are, breaking it down. An environment variable is a name value pair. Now, I'm going to go to chat and I think I can. I'm going to lower everybody's hands here real quick. All right. Raise your hand. Remember, nobody else can see this but me. I'm not going to name any names. Raise your hand if you're not quite sure what a name value pair is. Okay, good. We got some raised hands. Excellent. First of all, thank you for letting me know, right? Second of all, this is where it comes in really, really handy. What is a name value pair? Be simple. It can figure out that I meant simple. And what's beautiful is it's got this running record so you can clarify something and go back up to where you were, right? So it says a name value pair is a basic way to store information where each information has a name and a value associated with it. Think of it like a label and its corresponding content. Oh, good. Okay. So name, this is like a label or tag, tells you what the information is about. Value, this is the actual information or data associated with the name. It's an analogy. You got a list of contacts. The name is John and the value is this phone number. John is the name, 555, blah, 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 is the value. So here's got an example. It's a name, this name is path, and the value is the C drive and a folder called Python 3.9. Okay. All right, that raise your hand if that kind of makes sense to you. For anybody, raise your hand if that makes sense and helps you understand it. Good, let's raise hands. All right. So now we go back up and we say, all right, environment variable is like a special setting on your computer. And I recommend this. Start reading the whole thing over again. Go back a little bit. It's like a special setting on your computer that programs use to know where to find things or how to behave. All right. So what is it? An environment variable is a name value pair. Okay. So it's a name that has a corresponding value. It's got the label and the value. And it's a pair. It's got these two things. Oh, it's stored in the operating system. Huh. So Windows stores these, or Mac OS stores these, or Linux stores these. That's kind of cool. And programs in the computer can access it. That's kind of helpful. Why? Well, it helps programs find where things are located on your computer without needing to ask you every time. All right. I think everything's making sense here. Now, I'm going to ask another question. This is fun, being able to ask questions here. Thank you all for interacting so much with the chat and the raised hands and everything. All right. So, again, remember, you might be, if you're not super brand new to coding, pretend you are. You might come across and go, so it says, for example, when you run a command in the terminal, raise your hand if you're not sure what a terminal is. All right, good. Command prompt. In other words, what I'm going to do if I'm learning, if I'm brand new to a subject, is when I get these answers, I'm not going to like go past anything I'm not sure of. I'm going to use the AI to dumb it down smaller and smaller and smaller until I go, oh, I understand what that is. Then I can go back to the answers it gave me and move forward. I'm not going to ever go past anything I'm not sure of. And this isn't just about using the tool. This is about a difference in mindset. And I want to reinforce what I was talking about before. Almost all of us went through an education system that relied on testing whether or not you could memorize things rather than whether you genuinely understood them and could apply them. We went through an education system where it wasn't safe to ask questions in most cases. And that one of the most frightening things for most of us, if not all of us, one of the most frightening things was if it was revealed publicly in front of your fellow students that you didn't know something. I'm a relatively confident person, and I still do not enjoy that feeling. I honestly don't know anybody who enjoys it. And so I really want to stress that one of the coolest things about AI is nobody's going to judge you. Take advantage of it. Any single thing you get in any response where you're just like, I'm not actually 100% sure. Use this tool. Find out exactly what it means. Never go past a word or a symbol that you're not 100% certain what it means, and use this tool to clarify exactly what it means. In nearly every case, especially with technical subjects, it can eventually get you down to the core, the essence of what something is. So we could do a lot of this. In fact, we could go through this whole explanation of all this. I'm not going to spend a bunch of time chasing it down. I just want to give you an illustration of, oh, how would that work? So let's step back up about a 5,000 foot view. And what we're looking at is, if you happen to have the information that there are 5 basic elements to a computer program, and you've chosen Python as the language you're going to use to learn programming, well, what do you do with this information? Well, the first thing we went through is, how do I get started? Remember, I'll go back up here and said, how would I get started? Well, let's say you've installed Python, and then you have what's called an integrated development environment. An integrated development environment has a bunch of tools to make coding easier. You need some place to write your code. And let's say you actually installed Visual Studio Code. And in fact, right here is Visual Studio Code. I had it ready. Here's how you can use AI to start learning these things. Let's say you're not even sure how to use VS Code. You could search all over Google and go to countless websites and look up these different guides. But I would just say, how do I get, maybe I can learn how to type. How do I get started using VS Code? Make it simple. Oh, tells you exactly how to install it. Oh, look, it happens to know we're trying to learn Python. So without even being asked, it's showing me how to set it up for Python. Okay, good. All right, great. And it even tells me how to write my first program. Now, it's at this point where it's really easy to get lost in what they call tutorial hell. Going online and going, simple Python tutorial, and finding so many different examples, bunch of stuff on YouTube. What's the best thing to learn? And this is where I'm telling you, if you'll just start by, how do I do these things in Python, and you'll use Chat GPT for it, it keeps it very simple. And also, if you're trying to do something like just get set up with a program, just use Chat GPT. There's no ads. There's no super opinionated people. It's clear and crisp and clean, and you can go back and forth and ask it questions about what it said. You can't do that with a web page. So let's say you're set up and you're able to run Python code, right? Now you say, okay, good. Well, I've got these 5 elements of a computer program. Ask Chat GPT, how do I do blank in Python? Say, okay, I am set up on VS Code and set up my Python development environment, because that's what it said to do. I want to learn about these 5 fundamental elements of any program. And it was, you could read them off. I just happen to know them by heart. Entrance point, variables, control and branching, subprograms, exit point. Please explain how these work in Python in simple terms. Provide easy to spell code examples I can run in VS Code. Now, I'm here to tell you that if you were to take a weekend and do what we just did, and you didn't know anything about Python and knew very, very little about computer programming or even nothing, if you worked through each of these things after getting set up with VS Code and getting set up for Python development in VS Code, if you worked through each of these things using the tips I've given you tonight, by the end of the weekend, you would know the fundamentals of both computer programming as a subject and the fundamentals of Python. You have a solid foundation. One of the most important aspects of it is, as you did each separate exercise, as you worked through this and literally got your hands dirty, any term, any symbol where you're not even sure what it means, stop and immediately use ChatGPT to figure out what that means. And again, I could go through this and we could probably find numerous terms where you're like, what is that? I guess I just had a realization. When you're looking at the results, anything you are curious about, interested in, ask. Curious about or interested in, just ask. For example, actually, I'm going to watch chat. I'm going to look at chat right now. And Dev, I will answer that question, and I'm going to do so without giving people a misunderstood concept. Dev has asked, and I will clear up this term. Okay. He says, would it be worth it to prompt the AI to teach new people to write what's called PEP compliant code? So I'm going to use this. What is PEP in Python? PEP stands for Python Enhancement Proposal. It's a design document, provides information to the Python community, or proposes changes to the language. So then you say, okay, good. What does PEP compliant mean? I'm just clearing this up for people, okay? Code or practices that adhere to the guidelines. So there's a lot more in it. And again, I'm going to give you all a link to this this Chat GPT conversation when we're done. So again, Dev asks, wouldn't it be worth it to prompt the AI to teach new people to write PEP compliant code from the beginning? One, yes, it would. Two, a new person wouldn't even know about that concept. So what I'm trying to show here is if you're a complete novice and you're like, what do I do? How do I best use AI? They wouldn't know that such a thing existed, most likely. Now, they might have the concept of saying, are there certain standards? I'm going to open a new conversation, and let's just say, let me copy the very first thing and show them how that might work, right? I'm going to copy that prompt again, okay? Let's say it's a brand new conversation. ChatGPT has no context, and you said, hey, ChatGPT, you're an expert technology trainer, experienced software developer. I'm working with, how do I, as a novice, get started? And they're going to write this up. Fine. Let them write the answer, okay? What if they had some kind of a thought of, well, are there certain standards? This is a really good one. I'm going to let it finish here. Okay, I would say, I have chosen Python. Is there some sort of standard way to write Python or use it? Again, this I'll give you, Dev, because it is a good question that you asked, okay? A brand new person might have this kind of a question. Wait a minute, I've chosen Python, but I see all kinds of funky ways of writing it. I'm not sure what's going on. Is there a standard way to do this? Boom. Now it pops up this PEP8. And of course, a brand new person would be like, what is PEP8? And yeah, Dev made another point. He's absolutely right, or he or she's absolutely right. I think without knowing about PEP, you could prompt AI to teach you best practices. 1,000%, absolutely. If we go back to this other one, I love that it said Mary's Little Lamb summary, because that's what we started with. I'm going to rename this before I send it to anybody. This is learning to code with AI. That's what we're going to rename this at. Okay, so if we go back to learning to code with AI, right? Very early on in this conversation, we could have done the following. I'm going to do it now and say, I want to make sure that as I learn to code, I learn the best practices in the industry. Please make sure to address this in any responses. Perfect. That's a fantastic suggestion, Dev, right? I would put that early on, right? I would just tell it this. Hey, good. And notice, look what it says. This is a brand new thing. It says memory updated. See that? It's just a brand new feature in ChatGPT, by the way, that I love. It's keeping track of things that you're going to want to apply to almost any response. So in this conversation, from now on, it's going to, quote unquote, keep this in mind. I'm not going to go into deep detail on using memories, but it's pretty cool. So we have not yet gotten into actual code. And I'm going to show you a brief example of, let's say you're farther along in your journey and you're to the point where you are comfortable writing code, right? How can you use AI to help you do that? Now, one of the cool things is these AIs have been trained on a tremendous amount of actual code examples. And if you learn to write really good prompts, they can give you really good results. Again, those fundamentals, like those 6 factors involved in any good prompt, right? I did a previous training on those. Please go look at that if you want to get better at writing prompts. I'm by no means a master at it, but I've found AI, its value to me personally in getting any work done, its value went up drastically when I started just thinking with these 6 factors, right? So let's say you're at the point where you're actually really, really comfortable like writing code, right? You've gone through and learned how to implement those 5 basic elements of any computer program using Python, and you thought of this practical example, like, well, I could write a Python program that would go through a text document and find how many times we had a specific phrase repeated inside the text document. I'm just making up some kind of practical exercise. It would go through a bunch of text records and find out how many times was a specific phrase used. Well, you can have it make the code for you. I need to write a Python program that will access a text file and search it for a specific phrase, determining, spell it right, how many times that phrase was used. Please write this program. I am using Python. Come on. Python 3. That's the version. You're giving it some context. Put all the code in one file. Notice how quickly it did that. Let me look at this code for a second. So it's got a name for the file, phrasecounter.py. It's defining a function. You give it a file name and a phrase. It's got these documentation comments here. This is what it does. These are the arguments it takes. It takes in file name and phrase. It takes in the name of the text file and the phrase to search for. What does this function give back? The number of times the phrase appears. Sets a count to 0, opens the file name, and it starts going through every line in the file, and it starts counting every time it finds the phrase. It can account for what happens if it couldn't find the file. It can account for an error happening, and it tells you the count. It has you set the file name, it has you set the phrase, and then it prints out, okay, look at that. So I know Python decently well. This code will run exactly as it is. Now, I did that because there's a very, very important aspect that I want to cover of using AI to learn to code. Once you have gotten to the point where you're actually able to write small or even decently sized computer programs, it's critical that you do not just trust exactly what response you get in terms of code. As an engineer, you're responsible for every line of code you put into a program. That's my point of view. And factually, it's true. You know, on the job, you're actually responsible for it. Now, in practical terms, you're going to end up using code that's just impossible for you to review every single part of it. There's some risk involved all the time. But when you're using code that came from an AI, the risk factor is very high. It's extremely important you remember when you're using code from the AI that this is not a human being. This is not an actual engineer. The AI, this is a real important point, doesn't know what code is, does not know how to program, cannot run a computer by itself. It can't think. As I stressed at the very beginning of this workshop, the job of this type of AI is simply to predict what is the next most logical word that it should give back to you. That's all that it does. Now, because it was trained on billions of examples of code, its ability to predict what the quote unquote next most logical word that should come out is pretty accurate. But the creation of this code was done with no understanding at all of what coding is and how it works. And that's just super critical to remember if you're going to use AI to learn how to code. Now, once you've gotten to the point where you've broken into the industry, you've written several programs, or you've been part of building and maintaining large programs, it gets much easier to evaluate whether or not the code this AI is generating is junk, or is pretty good but has a few things to be tweaked, or is perfect. Like, I'm looking at this, I'm going, this is actually pretty much perfect. I would use this right now inside a computer program, and I have very little things to change in it, right? But when you're beginning, you haven't got that experiential background to really 100% know. And that's why it's critical that, one, you don't trust it 100%, and two, you still go through it, and any terms or concepts or way the code is written, that you clarify it. You can do that, by the way, and you can, like, you could say, please explain how each part of the code works. Include any alternative ways it could be written. You can use it to do this, but again, it's never a substitute for actually understanding or for talking to a real human being. It can still be very, very valuable. So it repeats the actual code, and then it breaks it down bit by bit by bit. Now, I hope you start to see that this is really powerful, really helpful, but you have to start with fundamentals. What's my basic plan of attack? What language have I chosen? How, use AI to figure out how in that language to do the fundamental elements of any computer program, and then start building on top of that. Use it, yes, to create sections of code or even full-blown programs, but never fully trust them, and go through and make sure you understand each thing it created for you, because ultimately you're responsible for it. Now, we could do a full, half day or full day workshop on all the other things you can do with AI, but I want to give you a taste of how to use one of these generative artificial intelligences to help you learn to code. Let's switch back over here. Move on to the next part of this. If I can learn how to use my computer here. All right. Okay. Now, I tried to watch the chat, and I think I got most things, but I want to open up the floor right now for at least a minute or so to see if there's any questions. Let me get chat up. See if I missed anything, and drop anything into chat if you have questions. All right, good. Now, before I forget, I want to grab the link to that chat. So give me just a moment. Realize it's right here. All right, and I'm going to go to chat right now. I'm going to pick everyone. There's a link to that actual conversation. If you want to go back through that as an example to help you, it's yours. All right. All right, I want to take a moment and talk about the school. Show of hands, drop into chat if you're unfamiliar with the Tech Academy. Raise your hand. Either one, drop it in the chat or raise your hand. Are you unfamiliar with the Tech Academy? All right, there's one. Okay, good. All right, so briefly, we provide coding boot camps. We actually have 12 coding online boot camps, 12 online coding boot camps, and they cover a big range, as you can see, of technology subjects. Artificial intelligence, which we've been talking about a lot, computer programming, web development, cybersecurity, data science, video game development, mobile app development. In fact, we've got more certification programs than any other coding boot camp on earth. Our boot camps are self-paced, which is really cool because sometimes it takes you a little while to learn something. Other things, you move really fast, right? They're self-paced, but they're also instructor supported. They're flexible. You set your own study schedule and you can sign up or enroll any day of the year. The content is well-rounded. It's in depth. The boot camps are affordable, as I talked about earlier. They're priced under the national average. And this is key. We didn't address this part of like using AI, to help you learn to code. There's learning to code, and then there's getting the job. Every one of our programs includes job placement training and job placement assistance. But most importantly, our programs are designed for absolute beginners. You don't have to have any technology knowledge or experience. You don't have to be a nerd to get through our programs. We consistently land on every major best coding bootcamp list. Our average review rating across all major bootcamp review sites is 4.8 out of 5 stars, and that's based on student and graduate feedback. So just quick consideration why you would even want to work in tech. I know that maybe not all of you want to work in tech, but why would you? Well, there's really good work-life balance. I can attest to that personally, right? There's remote work possibilities. I've worked remotely for about 8 years now. Absolutely love it, right? And post-COVID, it's a lot more likely. It's a really creative industry, and you can take a lot of personal pride in your work. You solve difficult, fun problems with really bright people, which is pretty cool, right? It's also a stable industry that pays well, and if you keep working hard at it and getting more experience, you get regular increases in pay, and there's some of the better paying jobs in the economy in virtually every country. That said, in terms of doing a boot camp, like one of these intensive programs, there are some barriers, and we recognize that. One of the biggest ones is money. Boot camp tuition, it costs thousands of dollars. What we've done is we've added multiple financing options, including an upfront discount and monthly payment options. The point is, we have an option from no matter what your credit's seen. I will tell you that I personally consider completing a Tech Academy bootcamp an investment in yourself. You're giving yourself a set of skills that are super in demand, and you're learning how to break into that industry and always get hired, which is really, really valuable. Another barrier, though, is time. There's a lot to learn in a short period of time. So you have to invest a bunch of time into it. Some boot camps will try to solve that by making their students go through in a cohort. Everybody joins, but they don't start until a specific day. And then they all move through the material at the same rate, which is really challenging if you get behind on anything, right? Some boot camps even make you attend in person, all in an effort to try to handle the fact that there's a lot to teach in a small amount of time. We don't do that. All of our programs are online, and you can choose your study schedule. We even allow part-time study schedules. The point is you can study concurrently to holding down a job or going to school. One final barrier to getting through boot camp is you need to have some technical interest or ability. That's got to be there. Now, you may have caught a little bit of what I was talking about during the workshop today. That some of the materials out there may have made you feel like you're not that bright, or that technology isn't for you, or the materials you studied might have been too hard. I want to stress that the problem is not with you. The problem is that some educators assume too much knowledge on the part of the student, and they don't break it down to its fundamentals. With our programs, you don't have to be a nerd to get through them. No background in technology is needed to require because of how we put the programs together. So the question is it time for a change for you? Like, are you in, I use this phrase, a dead end job, and I don't mean it to be a disparaging thing, but the job that you have, when you start to look to the long-term future for your life, does it meet your needs? The income ceiling in it, is it high enough for what you really want to accomplish in your life? The job satisfaction, the mobility, is it there? Maybe even unemployed. Or is it important to you to work from home? Is that work-life balance a really important thing? You want more time with your loved ones. The whole point is, I'd like you to ask yourself if it's time for a career change. And if it is, well, that's what we do. We could be the solution. We're career change experts. We chose this symbol of a bridge. That's what that orange thing is. We chose that symbol very precisely. We are trying to put in a route into technology for everyone. We don't like that certain people have been like gatekept out of technology for a lot of different reasons. And at this point, we have over a decade of experience in breaking people into tech. Most of our graduates make on average $30 an hour in their first job. That's $60,000 a year. And we have over 1,000 graduates working in tech at anywhere from like small local businesses to medium-sized businesses to really big companies like Nike and Facebook and Uber and Disney and Epic Games, right? So as a reminder, we offer open enrollment. You can start anytime. And so I encourage you to enroll now. In chat, there'll be a link in just a moment. Let me take that away. That's really, really cool. If one of the assistants could drop a link in for anybody who's interested, I want to tell them about some specials that are only for the next few days. Dev, that's awesome. He says, it's apropos the logo has a bridge if you're based in Portland. Portland is also known as Bridge City. And it is. All right, good. So in chat right now, Regina dropped a link. One of my assistants dropped a link. If this is of interest to you, grab that link and go there. Now, I want to tell you something cool. Only about the month of May. For students who enroll this month, we're giving a 50% off tuition discount for upfront payments. While we do have payment options, if you can pay the whole tuition upfront, you get 50% off. Also, if you pay upfront, if you're in America and need a laptop, we'll give you a refurbished laptop at no charge, right? We'll also, for enrollments in the month of May, there's no sales tax, doesn't matter where you live. A few states don't have sales tax, like Oregon, but most of them do. And if you enroll in May, there's no sales tax. We'll also ship you a full set of our books, including an Intro to Coding book, our Computers and Technology Simplified book called You Are Not Stupid, and a Technology Basics Dictionary, which is a really valuable dictionary to break down complex terms in simple ways. We'll also give you a career planning guide that Jack Stanley, my co-founder, and I put together, which is just a giant dump of a tremendous amount of hard-won data about how to navigate the first 3 years of your career. It's one thing to break into the industry and get that first job, and I'm telling you, it feels fantastic, right? But how do you then navigate those first few years so you set yourself up for long-term success? And we wrote this career planning guide to cover exactly that. It's really, really valuable. We also give you 90 days of free access to that Tech Academy Accelerator, that subscription service I talked about earlier on, which is a really good community to be a part of and can help you advance faster in your career. And finally, this one's huge. Again, this is for people that enroll in May. We're offering unlimited job placement until you land your first job. If you'll keep working at it, we will not stop until you get hired. And our job placement personnel are awesome. They've been doing it for years. They know exactly what they're doing. So please stick around for the free gift. Go to that link if you want to find out more. And by the way, if you went to that link and you got a login screen, it just means you already have an account with us. And there's information at the bottom of this slide on what your username and password will be. All right. Some of you may already know about this. Some of you may not. Referrals have always been a big deal at the school because our graduates are really happy with us and they like to tell their friends and loved ones. And so we've gotten a lot of referrals over the years. So a long time ago, we put in place a commission program where if you refer somebody, then we will give you a 5% commission. We'll just cut 5% of the tuition, give you the check, period. No questions asked, because we value referrals so much. You don't have to be a student or graduate to do that. Anyone can do it. So in a moment, I'll give you an email on where to email in for your free gift. You can include referral information on there and we'll keep track of it and we will pay commissions on that. I mentioned books earlier. This is the full set of books. We have 7 publications, including 3 Learn Coding Basics in Hours books, a coding book for kids and young adults, our Technology Basics Dictionary, our Project Management Handbook, and a book called You Are Not Stupid, which is awesome. This took a year and a half to write, and it has about 40 years of combined experience in it. It's basically a written version of our most popular course on the bootcamp called the Computer Basics course. It's got all modern technology terms and concepts defined in simple ways, and it's even got a history of technology so you can understand how we arrived where we're at in the modern world in terms of tech. All right, so sticking around to the end, I do have a free gift for you. It is our Project Management Handbook. Now, we can only send one of these to you if you're in the US. I'm sorry. But if you want a copy of this, grab the email address that's about to go into chat, books@learncodinganywhere.com. Send us an email with your full name and your mailing address. Please include that or we can't send you the book. And we'll send you a copy of the book. If you want to know how software is made, what the human process of communication and meetings and collaboration, what it looks like in the real world, this book lays all that out in very simple terms. So grab that email address, send us an email with your name and mailing address, and we'll send you a copy. All right, and finally, I mentioned links. Here's how you can get all links for the Tech Academy in one location. We use a service called Linktree. So that link, I've got it here, easy to copy and paste. Oh, boom, there it is. Awesome. Thank you so much, Christine. So if you go to that Linktree, you'll see links to the aforementioned YouTube video playlist, which is all of our free educational videos, including the one I did on how to, write effective prompts. I think it's about 3 months ago. Just go look back in the YouTube for YouTube videos. You'll find one of these about, leveraging AI and writing good prompts. It also has links to our books, our dictionary, upcoming meetups, and our social media. So I'd ask you all to please follow us on social media and invite your friends to future meetups. And if you'd like a chance to win your own copy of You Are Not Stupid, we give away one of those each week. To enter in the running for that, all you need to do is share a link to our next event on your social media and tag us. You tag the Tech Academy, we'll be notified, and we pick one of those at random each week and give them a copy of You Are Not Stupid. All right, so first of all, thank you for attending. I hope this was of value to you. I hope you leverage AI a lot more. I use it pretty much on a daily basis now. It's replaced so many research tools for me. I can't explain how valuable this tool is. So I hope this was of value. If you filled out that form to learn more about the coding boot camps, remember to do the steps afterwards. And I'd like to see you at our next event or in the accelerator. So please go to the Linktree, sign up for our next event, and I'll be there to do everything I can to help you all break into tech and succeed. Thank you all so much.